The dust swirled around Amelia Lawrence's worn boots as she stepped off the stagecoach in Ruby City, Idaho Territory, her hands instinctively moving to shield the barely visible swell of her belly beneath her threadbare traveling dress. It was September of 1876, and the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the main street, where miners and cowboys moved between the saloons and supply stores that lined the rough wooden walkways. She had nowhere to go and nobody waiting for her arrival, but anywhere was better than St. Louis, where her family had turned their backs on her the moment they learned of her condition. Her father, a respectable banker, had called her a disgrace and ordered her out of his house within the hour. Her mother had wept but done nothing to stop him. The man who had promised to marry her, a silver-tongued merchant's son named Frederick, had disappeared the very day she told him about the baby. Amelia clutched her single carpetbag tighter and stepped into the dusty street, nearly colliding with a tall man leading a chestnut mare. She stumbled backward, and strong hands caught her shoulders, steadying her before she could fall. "Easy there, miss. You all right?" The voice was deep and gentle, touched with genuine concern. Amelia looked up into a pair of warm brown eyes set in a sun-weathered face. The man was perhaps 26 or 27, with dark hair that curled slightly at his collar beneath a dusty brown hat. His clothes marked him as a working cowboy, practical and well-worn but clean. There was something inherently kind in his expression that made her throat tighten with unexpected emotion. "I'm fine, thank you," she managed, stepping back from his steadying grip. "I wasn't watching where I was going. New to Ruby City?" he asked, making no move to leave despite his horse nudging impatiently at his shoulder. "Yes, I just arrived." She hesitated, then added, "I'm looking for work, actually. Do you know of anywhere that might be hiring?" The cowboy studied her for a moment, and Amelia felt her cheeks flush. Could he tell? Was it already obvious? She was nearly 4 months along, and while her loose dress concealed most of it, she felt as though everyone could see straight through to her shame. "I'm Garrett Xavier," he said, extending his hand. "I work at the Double Creek Ranch about 5 miles north of town. The owner's wife might need help at the house. She's been saying as much for weeks now." Amelia shook his hand briefly. "Amelia Lawrence. I would be very grateful for any help finding employment." "The Morrisons are good people," Garrett said. "They'll treat you fair. I'm heading back there now if you want to ride along. You can meet Mrs. Morrison, see if she's got work for you." Every instinct told Amelia to be cautious, but desperation outweighed fear. She had $17 to her name and nowhere to sleep tonight. "That would be very kind of you, Mr. Xavier." "Just Garrett," he said with a slight smile. He helped her up onto his horse before swinging up behind her, keeping a respectful distance as much as the saddle allowed. "Hold on to the saddle horn. It's a smooth ride." As they left the bustle of Ruby City behind, following a well-worn trail north through sagebrush and scattered pines, Amelia found herself relaxing slightly despite her circumstances. Garrett didn't press her with questions or make idle conversation. He simply pointed out landmarks along the way, his voice steady and reassuring. "That creek there is where the ranch gets its name," he said as they crossed a wooden bridge over clear, running water. "Splits into 2 branches about a mile upstream, best fishing in the territory." The ranch came into view as the sun began to sink toward the western mountains. It was larger than Amelia had expected, with a main house, barn, bunkhouse, and several other outbuildings arranged in a neat cluster. Cattle grazed in distant pastures, and the whole property spoke of prosperity and careful management. Garrett helped her down from the horse and led her toward the main house. A woman in her late 40s emerged onto the porch, wiping her hands on her apron. She had kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a practical bun. "Garrett, you're late," she said without real reproach. "Supper's been ready this past half hour." "Sorry, Mrs. Morrison. I brought someone who's looking for work. This is Miss Amelia Lawrence, just arrived from back east." "Miss Lawrence, this is Margaret Morrison." Margaret's eyes swept over Amelia with the practiced assessment of an experienced woman. Those eyes paused almost imperceptibly at Amelia's middle before returning to her face. Amelia's heart sank. She knew that look. "Well, come inside, dear," Margaret said, her voice warm despite whatever she had noticed. "You look exhausted. Garrett, tell Mr. Morrison there'll be an extra plate at supper." Inside, the ranch house was comfortable and well kept, with polished wood floors and simple but sturdy furniture. Margaret led Amelia to a chair in the kitchen and poured her a glass of cool water without asking. "When are you due?" Margaret asked quietly once Garrett had left to find his employer. Amelia's hands trembled around the glass. "Late February or early March, I think." "And the father?" "There is no father," Amelia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "That is, he refused to acknowledge his responsibility. My family sent me away." Margaret was quiet for a moment, then reached across the table and patted Amelia's hand. "Well then, you've had a hard time of it. But you're here now, and if you're willing to work, there's plenty to do. I've been needing help with the cooking and cleaning, mending, that sort of thing. The pay is $15 a month plus room and board. The room's small, but it's private and warm. Does that suit you?" Amelia felt tears prick her eyes. "You would hire me, even knowing about my condition?" "I know what it's like to be alone and afraid," Margaret said simply. "And I believe in second chances. Besides, this ranch could use another woman around. I'm outnumbered by cowboys and cattle." "Thank you," Amelia whispered. "Thank you so much." Over the following weeks, Amelia settled into life at the Double Creek Ranch. She rose before dawn to help Margaret prepare breakfast for the ranch hands, then spent her days cleaning, mending clothes, tending the kitchen garden, and learning the rhythms of ranch life. The work was hard but honest, and for the first time since discovering her pregnancy, Amelia felt a measure of peace. Garrett Xavier was a constant, quiet presence. He worked from sunup to sundown, breaking horses, mending fences, moving cattle, doing whatever needed doing. But he always found time to carry in wood for the stove, to fix a sticky door latch, to bring Amelia a chair when he noticed her standing too long at the washing tubs. He never asked intrusive questions or treated her with anything less than complete respect. When the other ranch hands occasionally made comments or gave her knowing looks, Garrett's presence seemed to create an invisible barrier of protection around her. The men respected him, and they tempered their behavior accordingly. One cool October afternoon, Amelia was hanging laundry on the line behind the house when she felt a sharp pain in her back. She gasped and pressed her hand against it, trying to work out the knot. "You should rest more," Garrett's voice came from nearby. He was leaning against the corner of the house, hat in his hands. "You're working too hard." "I'm fine," Amelia said automatically. "There's still so much to do before dark. Mrs. Morrison won't mind if you take a break. Here, sit down." He dragged over a wooden crate and waited until she reluctantly sat. "That better, a little," she admitted. The baby had started moving recently, little flutters that both frightened and amazed her. Sometimes she forgot about her circumstances entirely, lost in the daily work and the surprising kindness she had found here. Then the baby would move, and reality would crash back down. Garrett settled onto another crate nearby, his long legs stretched out in front of him. "Can I ask you something?" Amelia tensed. "I suppose. What are you planning to do? After the baby comes, I mean." "I don't know," she said honestly. "I haven't thought that far ahead. I suppose I'll keep working as long as the Morrisons will have me. Maybe find someone in town who can watch the baby during the day." "That'll be hard," Garrett said quietly. "Near impossible, really. Most folks around here, they have strong feelings about situations like yours." Amelia felt shame burn through her. "I know what people think of me." "I didn't mean it like that," Garrett said quickly. "I just meant it's going to be difficult to manage alone. A baby needs two parents." "Well, this baby will have to make do with one," Amelia said, her voice sharper than she intended. "I can't change what happened. I can only move forward." Garrett was quiet for a long moment, turning his hat in his hands. Then he looked up at her, his brown eyes serious and steady. "That baby needs a father. I volunteer." Amelia stared at him, certain she had misheard. "What?" "I'm saying I'll marry you, give the baby my name. Be a father to the child." "You can't be serious," Amelia whispered. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," Garrett said. "I know you're brave enough to travel halfway across the country alone. I know you work harder than any two men I've ever met. I know you're kind to the barn cats even though they're supposed to stay outside. I know you deserve better than you've been given. Garrett, I can't let you do that. It wouldn't be fair to you." "Why not? I'm 27 years old, been saving my wages for years now. Got enough put by to buy some land, start my own place. I've been thinking about settling down, starting a family. This just moves the timeline up a bit." "But you should marry someone you love," Amelia protested. "Someone who can give you a fresh start, not someone carrying another man's child." Garrett leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Amelia, I'm not a romantic sort. I don't expect poetry and moonlight. I'm offering you a practical solution to a real problem. We could build a good life together. I would be a faithful husband and a good father. That's more than a lot of people get." Amelia felt tears spilling down her cheeks. "Why would you do this for me?" "Because it's the right thing to do," Garrett said simply. "Because that baby deserves a chance at a normal life. And because I think you and I could make a good team." "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it," Garrett said. "That's all I ask right now. Just think about it." That night, Amelia lay in her small room, one hand resting on her growing belly, and thought about Garrett's proposal. It was the most unexpected thing that had ever happened to her. This man, this near stranger, was offering to give her and her child his name, his protection, his future. It wasn't love, she told herself. But maybe love was a luxury she couldn't afford anymore. What mattered was survival, security, giving her baby a chance at a decent life. And Garrett was a good man. She had seen that in the weeks she had known him. He was steady, hardworking, honest. He treated everyone with respect, from Margaret Morrison to the newest ranch hand. Over the next few days, Amelia found herself watching Garrett more closely. She noticed how he was always the first to volunteer for the hardest jobs, how he broke horses with patience rather than force, how he checked on the older cattle to make sure they were holding their weight through the cooling weather. She saw him help a young ranch hand learn to rope properly, spending an hour after a long workday demonstrating the technique with endless patience. On Sunday, when most of the ranch hands rode into Ruby City for their weekly recreation, Garrett stayed behind. Amelia was churning butter on the porch when he approached, freshly washed and wearing a clean shirt. "Have you thought about my offer?" he asked without preamble. "I've thought of little else," Amelia admitted. "Garrett, are you absolutely certain this is a tremendous thing you're offering? It will change your entire life." "I'm certain," he said. "I wouldn't have asked if I weren't." "Then yes," Amelia said, the words coming out in a rush before she could lose her nerve. "Yes, I'll marry you, and I promise I will do everything in my power to be a good wife to you." A smile broke across Garrett's face, transforming it from merely handsome to genuinely beautiful. "You won't regret this, Amelia. I swear it." They were married the following Saturday in Ruby City, in the small church at the end of Main Street. Margaret and her husband Henry Morrison stood as witnesses, along with two of the ranch hands. Amelia wore a simple blue dress that Margaret had altered to accommodate her expanding waistline. Garrett wore a new shirt and vest, and he held Amelia's hand gently but firmly as they spoke their vows. When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Garrett bent and kissed her cheek, a chaste and respectful gesture that somehow meant more than any passionate embrace could have. Amelia felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. Not love, not yet, but perhaps the beginning of something that could become love given time. The Morrisons gifted them a 2-room cabin on the far edge of the ranch property. It was small but sturdy, with a good stove, a real bed, and glass windows that let in the afternoon light. Henry Morrison also offered Garrett a raise and more responsibility, overseeing some of the younger ranch hands. "You've earned it," Henry said, "and you'll need the extra income with a family to support now." Their first night as husband and wife, Garrett insisted on sleeping on the floor by the stove, giving Amelia the bed. "You're with child," he said when she protested. "You need proper rest. I've slept in worse places than this. Besides, give me a few days to build a proper second bed and we'll both be comfortable." "Garrett, you don't have to do this. We're married now. People will expect us to share a bed." "People can expect whatever they want," Garrett said calmly, arranging his bedroll. "You and I know the truth of things. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, that will be your choice to make. Until then, I'm perfectly content with this arrangement." Amelia lay in the darkness, listening to Garrett's steady breathing from across the room, and felt something tight in her chest begin to loosen. He had meant what he said. He truly was offering her respect, safety, a future, without demanding anything in return. The weeks passed, and autumn gave way to early winter. Snow dusted the mountains and occasional cold rains swept through the valley. Amelia's belly grew rounder, and Garrett fashioned a second bed that he placed along the opposite wall. Their small cabin became a home, filled with Amelia's cooking smells and Garrett's quiet presence. They fell into an easy routine. Garrett rose before dawn to tend to his ranch work, and Amelia prepared their meals, kept the cabin clean, and continued helping Margaret with various tasks around the main house. In the evenings, they would sit by the fire, and Garrett would read aloud from the newspaper or tell stories about his childhood in Texas. "My pa was a rancher too," he told her one cold December night. "Not a big operation like this, just enough cattle to get by. He died when I was 17. Horse rolled on him during a storm. After that, it was just me and my ma, and she passed 2 years later from pneumonia. That's when I headed north looking for work." "I'm sorry," Amelia said. "That must have been terribly hard." "It was," Garrett admitted, "but it taught me to value family. To understand how precious it is when you have people who care about you." He looked at her across the firelight. "I want you to know, Amelia, that I consider you and that baby my family now, truly. This isn't just an arrangement to me anymore." Amelia felt her throat tighten. "It isn't just an arrangement to me either, Garrett. You've been kinder to me than anyone in my entire life. I don't know how to repay that." "You don't need to repay anything," Garrett said. "Just be happy. That's all I want." As Christmas approached, Garrett surprised Amelia by bringing home a small pine tree that he set up in the corner of their cabin. Together they decorated it with strings of dried berries and paper stars that Amelia folded from old newspaper. It was humble, but it filled the cabin with the scent of pine and gave the space a festive warmth. On Christmas morning, Garrett presented Amelia with a rocking chair he had built himself, the wood sanded smooth and polished to a soft gleam. "For when the baby comes," he said, looking almost shy. "Thought you might like something comfortable for feeding and rocking the little one to sleep." Amelia ran her hands over the smooth armrests, tears streaming down her face. "It's beautiful, Garrett. Thank you." "Don't cry," he said, alarmed, pulling out his handkerchief. "If you don't like it, I can make something different." "I'm not crying because I don't like it," Amelia said, laughing through her tears. "I'm crying because I do like it, because you're so thoughtful and good, and I don't know what I did to deserve you." Garrett gently wiped her tears. "You deserve everything good, Amelia. Don't ever think otherwise." Amelia had made Garrett a new shirt from fabric she had bought with her own saved wages, stitching it carefully during the hours he was out working. When he tried it on, it fit perfectly, and the pleasure in his eyes made all the late nights squinting by candlelight worthwhile. The Morrisons invited them for Christmas dinner, along with all the ranch hands who had nowhere else to go. The main house was filled with laughter and the smells of roasted turkey and fresh bread. Amelia sat beside Garrett at the long table, feeling his solid presence next to her, and realized with a start that she was happy. Genuinely, unexpectedly happy. When had that happened? When had this practical arrangement begun to feel like something more? She looked at Garrett and found him already watching her, a soft smile on his face. He reached under the table and squeezed her hand gently, and Amelia squeezed back, her heart beating faster. January and February passed in a blur of preparation. Margaret helped Amelia sew baby clothes and diapers from soft cotton fabric. Garrett built a cradle from smooth pine, rocking it back and forth to test its motion before declaring it ready. The other ranch hands, who had initially been skeptical of the hasty marriage, had warmed to Amelia over the months. They took to leaving small gifts on the cabin porch: a hand-carved wooden rattle, a knitted blanket, a tiny pair of leather booties. "They've adopted you as a little sister," Margaret told Amelia with a smile. "That's high praise from this rough bunch." As Amelia entered her final month of pregnancy, moving became difficult. Her back ached constantly, and her ankles swelled despite Margaret's advice to rest with her feet elevated. Garrett began coming home during the day to check on her, often bringing his midday meal to eat at the cabin rather than with the other hands. "I worry about you being alone," he admitted. "What if something happens while I'm out with the cattle? Women have been having babies since the beginning of time," Amelia said, though privately she was grateful for his concern. "I'll be fine." "Still," Garrett said, "promise me you'll send word if you need anything, anything at all." One afternoon in late February, as a cold rain drummed on the cabin roof, Amelia felt the first unmistakable pains. They started low in her back and wrapped around her middle, taking her breath away. She gripped the edge of the table and waited for it to pass. Garrett had ridden out that morning to check on cattle in the far pasture. Margaret had gone to Ruby City with her husband for supplies. Amelia was alone, and as another pain gripped her barely 10 minutes after the first, she realized the baby was coming fast. She managed to make it to the bed before another contraction hit, this one stronger than the last. Fear threatened to overwhelm her. She had no idea what to do, how to bring this baby into the world by herself. She thought of her mother, who had always said childbirth was a woman's trial to bear. She wished desperately for female guidance, for someone to tell her this was normal, that she would survive this. The cabin door burst open and Garrett appeared, soaked from the rain. "I saw smoke from the chimney and thought I'd check on you before heading to the barn." "Amelia, what's wrong?" "The baby," Amelia gasped. "It's coming. Now." Whatever color Garrett had drained from his face, but he didn't hesitate. "All right, okay, I'll ride for Mrs. Morrison." "There's no time," Amelia said as another contraction seized her. "Please don't leave me alone." Garrett crossed to the bed, stripping off his wet coat. "I won't leave you, I promise. We'll do this together." He took her hand, his grip strong and steady despite the fear in his eyes. "Tell me what you need." What followed was the longest and hardest hours of Amelia's life. Garrett never left her side. He brought water when she needed to drink, wiped her face with a cool cloth, held her hand through each contraction. When she screamed with the pain, he didn't flinch. When she cried that she couldn't do this, he told her she could, that she was the strongest person he knew, that the baby was almost here. "I can see the head," Garrett said, his voice tight with emotion. "Amelia, the baby's right here. Just a little more." With a final tremendous effort, Amelia pushed, and suddenly there was a new sound in the cabin, the thin, outraged wail of a newborn. Garrett caught the tiny, slippery baby in his large hands, his face transformed with wonder. "It's a boy," he said, his voice cracking. "Amelia, we have a son." Garrett tied off and cut the cord with his pocket knife, which he had heated in the lamp flame. Then he wrapped the baby in a clean towel and placed him in Amelia's arms. The infant was red-faced and tiny, with a surprising amount of dark hair. His eyes, when they blinked open, were a deep, unfocused blue. "Hello, little one," Amelia whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Welcome to the world." Garrett sat on the edge of the bed, one arm around Amelia's shoulders, looking down at the baby with an expression of absolute awe. "He's perfect." "I was so scared," Amelia admitted, leaning into Garrett's solid warmth. "Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for everything." "I told you I wouldn't leave," Garrett said softly. He pressed a kiss to her forehead, then one to the baby's head. "You were incredibly brave." "I'm so proud of you." The Morrisons arrived an hour later, Margaret bustling in with experienced efficiency to help clean up and make sure both mother and baby were healthy. She checked the infant over thoroughly, then smiled. "He's a strong, healthy boy. What are you going to name him?" Amelia looked at Garrett. They had discussed names, but only in abstract terms. Now, with the baby real and present in her arms, those earlier conversations seemed insufficient. "What about Gabriel?" Garrett suggested. "Garrett Xavier. It seems like a strong name for a strong boy." "Gabriel," Amelia repeated softly. "I like that. Garrett Xavier." Over the next weeks, their lives revolved around the tiny new person who had entered them. Gabriel was a good baby, nursing well and sleeping in reasonable stretches. Amelia was amazed by how naturally motherhood came to her, this fierce, protective love that overwhelmed everything else. What surprised her more was how naturally fatherhood came to Garrett. He held Gabriel with confident gentleness, changing diapers without complaint, walking the floor with the baby when he fussed, singing soft songs in a surprisingly pleasant baritone. He would come home from long days of ranch work and immediately reach for his son, his whole face lighting up. "How are my two favorite people?" he would ask, and the warmth in his voice made Amelia's heart flutter. One evening in early April, after they had put Gabriel down in his cradle, Amelia found herself watching Garrett from across the room. He was mending a bridle by lamplight, his strong hands moving with practiced skill. His hair had grown longer over the winter, curling at his collar. There were new lines at the corners of his eyes from squinting in the sun, and his hands bore the calluses and scars of hard work. He was handsome, Amelia realized. She had noticed it before in an abstract way, but now she truly saw him. More than that, he was good, kind, patient. Everything a husband and father should be. "Garrett," she said softly. He looked up immediately. "What's wrong? Is Gabriel all right?" "Gabriel's fine. I just wanted to tell you something." She took a breath. "I know this marriage started as a practical arrangement. You were helping me because you're a good man, but it's become more than that for me. Somewhere along the way, I've fallen in love with you." Garrett set down the bridle slowly, his eyes never leaving her face. "Amelia, you don't have to say anything," she said quickly. "I just needed you to know, you've given me so much. You've given Gabriel a home and a name and a future. You've treated me with more respect and kindness than I ever dreamed possible. And I love you for all of that and 100 other reasons." Garrett crossed the room and knelt beside her chair, taking her hands in his. "I've been in love with you since the day I helped you off that stage, coach," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "I saw you standing there, so brave and scared all at once, and something in my chest just knew. I told myself it was enough just to help you, to give you security. I never dared hope you might come to care for me too. How could I not?" Amelia whispered. "You're the best man I've ever known." Garrett reached up and cupped her face in his calloused hands. "May I kiss you, really kiss you?" "Yes," Amelia breathed. "Please." When their lips met, it was nothing like the chaste kiss they had shared at their wedding. This was fire and promise, months of careful distance finally bridged. Garrett's arms came around her, pulling her close but careful of her still tender body. Amelia wound her fingers into his hair and kissed him back with everything she felt, all the love and gratitude and hope that had been building in her heart. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Garrett rested his forehead against hers. "I love you, Amelia Xavier. I love you so much." "I love you too," she said, and kissed him again. That night, for the first time, they moved the second bed into storage and shared the main bed as true husband and wife. Garrett was gentle and patient, making sure Amelia was comfortable and ready. What they shared was tender and profound, a physical expression of the love that had grown between them over the months. Afterward, lying in Garrett's arms while Gabriel slept peacefully in his cradle nearby, Amelia felt complete in a way she never had before. This was family. This was home. This was love, real and true and earned through patience and kindness. "Are you happy?" Garrett asked softly, his hand tracing lazy patterns on her shoulder. "Happier than I ever thought possible," Amelia said truthfully. "When I got off that stagecoach last September, I thought my life was over. I thought I had lost everything, but I found you instead. I found this." "I'm the one who found something," Garrett said. "I found my whole world." Spring came to Idaho Territory in a rush of green grass and wildflowers. Gabriel grew strong and healthy, his dark hair thickening and his blue eyes beginning to show flecks of brown. He started smiling at 6 weeks, real smiles that lit up his whole face, and he saved his biggest smiles for Garrett. "He knows his papa," Margaret said one afternoon when she stopped by the cabin. She watched Garrett playing with Gabriel, making silly faces that delighted the baby. "That boy adores you, Garrett." "The feeling is mutual," Garrett said, lifting Gabriel high above his head and earning a gurgling laugh. "I can't imagine life without this little man." In May, Garrett came home with news that made Amelia's heart race with excitement. "Henry Morrison is selling me 200 acres on the east edge of his property," he said, his eyes bright. "It's good grazing land with water access and timber for building. He's giving me a fair price, and I've got enough saved to make it work. We can build our own place, Amelia. A real ranch of our own." "Garrett, that's wonderful." Amelia threw her arms around him, Gabriel squashed safely between them. "Our own land. I can hardly believe it." "It'll take time," Garrett warned. "We'll need to build a house, barn, corrals, start building a herd, but it's possible now. We can give Gabriel brothers and sisters, build something that will last for generations." Over the summer, Garrett worked harder than Amelia had ever seen anyone work. He continued his duties at the Double Creek Ranch while spending every spare moment on their own land. The other ranch hands helped when they could, and slowly a house began to take shape. It was bigger than their cabin, with 3 bedrooms, a real parlor, and a kitchen with modern conveniences. Amelia helped however she could, bringing meals to the building site, keeping Gabriel content while the men worked, planting a garden near where the kitchen would be. She could see the vision coming together, their future taking physical form in wood and nails and sweat. "What do you think?" Garrett asked one evening in late August, standing with Amelia outside the nearly complete house. Gabriel dozed in his mother's arms, tired from a day of watching the fascinating work. "It's not fancy, but it's solid. It'll keep us warm in winter and cool in summer." "It's perfect," Amelia said honestly. "It's everything I never knew I wanted." They moved into the new house in September, almost exactly a year after Amelia had arrived in Ruby City. The ranch hands helped transport their meager furniture, and the Morrisons donated pieces from their own home. A dining table, extra chairs, a dresser, dishes and linens. "Consider it a delayed wedding present," Margaret said, hugging Amelia tight. "You've become like a daughter to me this past year. I'm so happy to see you and Garrett thriving." Their first night in the new house, after Gabriel was settled in his own room for the first time, Garrett took Amelia's hand and led her through the empty rooms. "This will be our room," he said, showing her the largest bedroom with windows facing east to catch the morning sun. "And across the hall, Gabriel's room. The 3rd bedroom can be for the next baby when that time comes. And the parlor is lovely," Amelia said. "I can picture us sitting by the fire in the winter, reading or telling stories. Building a life," Garrett said softly. He turned to face her, pulling her into his arms. "A year ago, I thought I knew what I wanted. A ranch of my own, some cattle, a quiet life. But you and Gabriel have shown me what I was really missing. This, right here, this is what makes it all worth it." "I love you," Amelia said, kissing him softly. "I love you more than words can express." "I love you too," Garrett replied. "Both of you my family." The next months were a whirlwind of activity. Garrett bought his first 10 head of cattle with his savings, the beginning of what would become the Xavier herd. He hired 2 young ranch hands to help with the daily work, young men eager to learn the business. Amelia set up their home, making curtains for the windows, braiding rugs for the floors, turning the empty house into a warm, welcoming home. Gabriel took his first steps in November, wobbling across the parlor floor into Garrett's waiting arms. Amelia watched with tears in her eyes as her husband swept their son into the air, both of them laughing with pure joy. "Did you see that?" Garrett called to her. "He walked. Our boy walked." "I saw," Amelia said, her heart so full it almost hurt. "He's growing so fast." By Gabriel's first birthday in late February, the Xavier Ranch was well established. They had expanded the herd to 30 cattle, built a sturdy barn, and established a reputation for quality stock and honest dealings. Amelia had become known in Ruby City for her baking, and she often sold bread and pies in town to earn extra money for household expenses. They celebrated Gabriel's birthday with a small party, inviting the Morrisons and a few of the ranch hands. Gabriel dove into his first taste of cake with enthusiasm, ending up covered in frosting and utterly delighted with himself. Amelia preserved the moment in her mind, knowing these were the memories she would treasure forever. That night, after cleaning up and putting an exhausted Gabriel to bed, Amelia found herself in the kitchen with Garrett, washing the last of the dishes. "I need to tell you something," she said, setting down the plate she had been drying. Garrett looked up, immediately alert. "What is it?" "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," Amelia assured him with a smile. "Better than fine, actually. Garrett, I'm expecting again. We're going to have another baby." The plate Garrett had been washing slipped from his hands back into the water with a splash. "Another baby, truly, truly." I think it will be born in September or October." Garrett whooped with joy, lifting Amelia and spinning her around before remembering her condition and setting her down carefully. "Another baby. Amelia, that's wonderful news. How are you feeling? Do you need to sit down? Should you be working so hard?" Amelia laughed at his sudden anxiety. "I'm fine, I promise. I'm barely 3 months along. I have plenty of time before I need to slow down." "We should expand the house," Garrett said immediately, his mind already racing ahead. "Add on another bedroom. Maybe 2, just to be prepared. And we'll need another cradle, more baby clothes." "Garrett," Amelia said gently, stopping his planning with a hand on his arm. "We have time for all that. Right now, I just want to enjoy this moment with you." Garrett pulled her close, his hand resting gently on her still flat stomach. "I can't believe how blessed I am. 2 years ago, I was alone, just a cowboy working for wages. Now I have you, Gabriel, this ranch, and another baby on the way. It's more than I ever dreamed of." "It's more than I ever dreamed of too," Amelia said. "When I think about where I was, how hopeless I felt stepping off that stagecoach, and compare it to now, I almost can't believe this is my life." "It's our life," Garrett corrected softly, "and it's only going to get better." The second pregnancy was easier than the first in many ways. Amelia was in her own home, surrounded by love and support. Garrett was attentive but not overbearing, making sure she rested but not treating her like she was fragile. Gabriel was a sweet toddler, bringing laughter into every day with his antics and observations. "Mama big," he announced one day, patting Amelia's swollen belly with gentle hands. "Yes, there's a baby in there," Amelia explained. "You're going to be a big brother." "Baby," Gabriel repeated seriously, then kissed Amelia's stomach. "Hi, baby." Garrett, who had witnessed this exchange, had to leave the room because his eyes were suspiciously bright. In early October, as the aspens turned gold on the mountain slopes, Amelia went into labor. This time, Margaret Morrison was present, and the birth went smoothly. After several hours of work, Amelia delivered a healthy baby girl with a surprisingly strong set of lungs. "Another Xavier to carry on the name," Garrett said, cradling his daughter with the same tender care he had shown Gabriel. "What should we call her?" "I was thinking maybe Anna," Amelia said. "Anna Marie Xavier." "Anna," Garrett repeated, smiling down at the tiny face. "It's perfect." Gabriel was fascinated by his new sister, wanting to constantly see her and touch her soft hair. Garrett supervised these interactions carefully, making sure the toddler was always gentle. "Soft," Gabriel would say, patting Anna's hand. "My baby." "Our baby," Garrett corrected with a smile. "You're her big brother. That means you help protect her and teach her things." Gabriel took this responsibility seriously, bringing Anna his favorite toys to look at and singing her the songs Garrett had taught him. The years that followed were busy and full. The ranch continued to grow, as did their family. In 1880, Amelia gave birth to twin boys, James and Joseph, turning their household into a happy chaos of children's voices and endless activity. Gabriel, now 4, helped with his younger siblings, while Anna proved to be a determined and fearless toddler who kept everyone on their toes. "I don't know how you manage it all," Margaret Morrison said one afternoon, watching Amelia calmly handle all 4 children while also supervising bread dough rising on the counter. "Garrett helps with everything," Amelia said. "He's an equal partner in raising these children. I couldn't do it without him." It was true. Garrett was as comfortable changing diapers and comforting crying babies as he was breaking horses and driving cattle. He read bedtime stories every night, taught the older children to ride, and could braid Anna's hair almost as neatly as Amelia could. "My friends don't believe me when I tell them about you," one of their ranch hands said to Garrett one day. They say no real man would do women's work like that. Then they don't know what it means to be a real man, Garrett replied without rancor. Being a man means taking care of your family, whatever that requires. I'm not too proud to do what needs doing. By 1882, the Xavier Ranch was one of the most successful in the region. They had over 200 head of cattle, 8 hired hands, and a growing reputation. Garrett had been elected to the local Cattlemen's Association, and his opinions were sought after and respected. But despite their success, their growing bank account, and their standing in the community, what mattered most to both Garrett and Amelia was the family they had built together. Every evening, no matter how hard the day had been, they would gather in the parlor after supper. Garrett would read from a book while the children played quietly or drew on slates. Amelia would sew or knit, her hands busy while her heart was at peace. One summer evening in 1883, when Gabriel was 7, Anna 5, and the twins 3, the family sat on the porch watching the sunset paint the western sky in shades of orange and gold. The children were tired from a day of playing in the creek, and they leaned against their parents with drowsy contentment. "Papa," Gabriel said suddenly, "tell us the story again." "Which story?" Garrett asked, though he already knew. "The one about how you and Mama met, how you saved us." Garrett looked at Amelia, and she nodded with a smile. This had become the children's favorite story, asked for again and again. "Well," Garrett began, "it was September of 1876, and I was leading my horse through Ruby City when the most beautiful woman I had ever seen nearly walked right into me." "That's Mama," Anna announced as if this was new information. "That's right. Your Mama had just gotten off the stagecoach and she looked lost and scared. She told me she needed work, and I knew right then that I wanted to help her." "Because you're a hero," James piped up. "No, because I was a man who saw someone in need," Garrett corrected gently. "Anyone with a good heart would have done the same." "But you did more than that," Amelia said softly. "You gave me and Gabriel everything." "Gabriel was there?" Anna asked, confused as always by this part of the story. "Gabriel was here," Amelia said, patting her stomach. "He was a baby growing inside Mama, but he didn't have a papa yet. And then Garrett said the words that changed all our lives." "What did he say?" the twins asked in unison, even though they had heard this story dozens of times. "He said that baby needs a father. I volunteer," Garrett said quietly, his eyes on Amelia's face. "And I've never regretted those words for a single moment." "And then you got married and lived happily ever after," Gabriel concluded triumphantly. "Not quite yet," Amelia corrected with a laugh. "First we had to learn to love each other. Love isn't always instant like in fairy tales. Sometimes it grows slowly, becoming stronger every day." "But you love each other now, right?" Anna asked, suddenly worried. "More than anything in the world," Garrett assured her, reaching across the children to take Amelia's hand. "Your Mama is the best thing that ever happened to me. You kids are pretty great too," he added, tickling the twins until they squealed with laughter. As the children eventually drifted off to bed, Amelia and Garrett remained on the porch, sitting close together in the swing Garrett had hung from the rafters. "You ever think about how different our lives could have been?" Amelia asked. "If I had gotten off the stagecoach in a different town? If you had walked down a different street that day?" "I try not to," Garrett admitted. "It scares me to think how easily I could have missed you, but I didn't miss you. Whatever fate or luck or divine providence brought you to me, I'm grateful for it every single day." "I'm grateful too," Amelia said. "For everything. For the life we've built, the children we've raised, the love we share. You saved me, Garrett. You saved Gabriel. You gave us a future when we had nothing." "You saved me too," Garrett said softly. "I just didn't know I needed saving. I thought I was content with my small life, my simple dreams. but you showed me what real happiness looks like. What it means to have a family, to build something meaningful. You're my partner, my love, my whole heart." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. The sounds of their ranch surrounded them, cattle lowing in the distance, horses moving in the barn, the soft chirping of crickets in the grass. "I want to expand the house again," Garrett said eventually. "Add on a proper dining room and maybe another bedroom or two." Amelia laughed. "Are you planning on more children, Mr. Xavier?" "Maybe," Garrett said with a grin. "Or maybe I just want space for grandchildren someday. Our kids will grow up eventually, get married, have families of their own. I want there to always be room for everyone to gather." "That sounds perfect," Amelia said. "I love that you're already thinking about our grandchildren." "I'm thinking about our whole future," Garrett said. "Every day I wake up and think about how blessed I am. And every night I go to sleep grateful for another day with you and our children." The years continued to roll by, each one bringing new challenges and joys. The children grew strong and healthy, learning the ways of the ranch and the values their parents held dear. Gabriel showed a natural talent for working with horses, while Anna surprised everyone by developing a keen business sense, keeping track of the ranch's finances with meticulous care. The twins were inseparable, their combined energy sometimes exhausting but always entertaining. In 1885, Amelia gave birth to their fifth child, a girl they named Margaret after the woman who had been such a good friend to them. The older children were delighted to have a new baby in the house, and they all competed for the privilege of helping care for her. The Morrisons, who had become like family, were frequent visitors. Henry Morrison had unofficially become a grandfather figure to the Xavier children, teaching them skills and sharing wisdom. Margaret Morrison and Amelia had developed a deep friendship, the kind that only comes from shared experiences and mutual respect. "I knew that first day you were someone special," Margaret told Amelia one afternoon, as they shelled peas together on the Xavier porch. "I saw a young woman who had been knocked down by life but refused to stay down, and I saw Garrett looking at you like you were the answer to a question he had not yet asked. I was so ashamed that day," Amelia admitted. "I thought my life was over. I thought I would spend the rest of my days being punished for one mistake." "It wasn't a mistake," Margaret said firmly. "That mistake brought Gabriel into the world and he brought you to Garrett. Sometimes what looks like our worst moment is actually the beginning of our best life." Amelia thought about that conversation later as she watched Garrett teaching Gabriel and the twins to throw a rope properly. Gabriel was 11 now, tall for his age, and already showing signs of the man he would become. He looked up to Garrett completely, mimicking his father's mannerisms and absorbing his lessons with serious attention. The twins, at 6, were more interested in playing than learning, but Garrett was patient, making the lesson into a game that held their attention. Anna sat nearby with baby Margaret, singing softly to her little sister. This was her life now. This beautiful, chaotic, perfect life. Sometimes Amelia had to pinch herself to believe it was real. That evening, after the children were in bed, Garrett found Amelia in their bedroom, brushing out her hair before the mirror. He came up behind her and took the brush from her hand, running it gently through her long locks. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, meeting her eyes in the mirror. "Everything," Amelia said. "How far we have come, how blessed we are." "We are blessed," Garrett agreed. He set down the brush and wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Do you know what day it is?" "Thursday." Amelia guessed, smiling because she knew that was not what he meant. "It's 9 years exactly since I helped a beautiful woman off a stagecoach in Ruby City," Garrett said. 9 years since my life truly began. Amelia turned in his arms so she could face him properly. 9 years, she repeated. It feels like a lifetime and also like no time at all. I want at least 9 more lifetimes with you, Garrett said, but I will take whatever time God grants us and be grateful for every moment. I love you, Amelia said, cupping his face in her hands. I love you more with every passing day. You are the best husband, the best father, the best man I have ever known. I love you too, Garrett said. You and our children are everything to me. Every single thing I do for this family, for our future. They kissed then, a long, sweet kiss that held 9 years of love and trust and partnership. When they finally broke apart, Amelia smiled up at her husband. We should probably go to sleep, she said. The twins will be up at dawn wanting breakfast and adventure. Probably, Garrett agreed, but neither of them moved. They simply stood there, holding each other, grateful for the love they had found and the life they had built. The Xavier family continued to flourish as the years passed. The ranch grew from 200 acres to over 1,000. Their cattle herd expanded, and they became one of the most respected families in Idaho Territory. But despite their material success, Garrett and Amelia never forgot where they had started. They were known for their generosity, helping struggling ranchers, hiring young men who needed a chance, and supporting community improvements in Ruby City. Gabriel grew into a fine young man, inheriting his father's work ethic and his mother's compassionate heart. At 18, he took on significant responsibility at the ranch, effectively becoming Garrett's partner in running the operation. Anna, at 16, was fierce and intelligent, determined to attend the new school for women in Boise. Garrett and Amelia supported her dreams, even though it meant she would be away from home. I raised you to be strong and independent, Amelia told her daughter as they packed Anna's trunk. Go learn everything you can, then come back and use that knowledge however you see fit. The twins, James and Joseph, were 14 and already taller than their father. They had developed into skilled cowboys, competing with each other good-naturedly in every task. Young Margaret, at 6, was the darling of the family, adored by everyone and showing signs of inheriting Anna's determination. In the summer of 1891, 15 years after that fateful day in Ruby City, the Xavier family hosted a large celebration at their ranch. They had expanded the house multiple times over the years, and it now sprawled comfortably across the hillside, easily accommodating the crowd of friends and neighbors who had gathered. The occasion was simple. Garrett and Amelia wanted to celebrate their family, their friends, and their life together. Long tables groaned under the weight of food. Children played games in the yard while adults talked and laughed. Music filled the air as someone played a fiddle and couples danced on the grass. At one point, Garrett stood to address the crowd. Amelia stood beside him, her hand in his. Their children gathered around them. I want to thank everyone for coming today, Garrett began. 15 years ago, I was a cowboy with nothing but a horse and a dream. Then I met a brave woman who needed help, and helping her gave my life purpose and meaning. Everything you see here, everything we have built, started with a simple choice: to do the right thing and trust that love would follow. He looked at Amelia, his eyes shining. And love did follow. More love than I knew existed in the world. This woman, my wife, gave me everything. She gave me children, a home, a reason to strive for better every day. And I want her and everyone here to know that I would make the same choice again without hesitation. Amelia Xavier, you are my heart. The crowd applauded, and Amelia wiped away tears. My turn, she said, her voice strong despite the emotion. When I arrived in Ruby City, I thought I had lost everything. My family had rejected me, and I was alone and afraid. Then a cowboy with kind eyes offered to help me, and he kept helping me every day after that. Garrett, you showed me what true love looks like. Not the fleeting passion I thought I knew before, but steady, enduring, faithful love. The kind that grows stronger through challenges. The kind that builds families and legacies. I am who I am today because you chose to love me when I could not love myself. Their children applauded loudest of all, and soon everyone was raising glasses in toasts to the Xavier family. The celebration continued late into the night, with stories and laughter and dancing under the stars. As the evening wound down and guests began departing, Amelia and Garrett found themselves alone on their porch once again, the place where they had shared so many important moments over the years. "You remember the first time we sat here together?" Amelia asked. "Gabriel was just a baby, and we were still learning to be married." "I remember every moment," Garrett said. "I remember being terrified that I had made a promise I could not keep, that I would somehow fail you or the baby. But you made it easy, Amelia. You took a practical arrangement and turned it into something beautiful." "We both did that," Amelia corrected. "We chose to build something together. We chose to love." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the last of their guests disappear down the road toward Ruby City. Their older children were helping clean up, their voices and laughter drifting from inside the house. "What do you think the future holds?" Garrett asked. "Gabriel will probably get married in the next few years, start his own family. Anna will come back from school with big ideas about how to run things. The twins will want to expand the ranch even more. Little Margaret will grow up and probably lead us all on a merry chase." "Grandchildren," Amelia said with a smile. "Lots of grandchildren if I know our children. This house will be full of the next generation. And we will be here to spoil them properly," Garrett said with a grin. "That's what grandparents are for." "We will be here together," Amelia emphasized. "That's what matters most. As long as we face everything together, we can handle whatever comes." Garrett pulled her close, and she rested her head on his shoulder, fitting perfectly into the space she had occupied for 15 years. "I volunteer," Garrett said softly, repeating the words that had changed both their lives. "That's what I said that day. I volunteer to be Gabriel's father, but I got so much more than that. I got you and a family and a life beyond my wildest dreams." "I got the same thing," Amelia said. "I got everything I needed when I needed it most. I got a second chance, a new beginning, and the love of the best man I have ever known." "Just a cowboy," Garrett said with characteristic humility. "My cowboy," Amelia corrected. "My husband, my partner, my love." They kissed then, a sweet kiss that held 15 years of love and the promise of all the years yet to come. Around them, their ranch sprawled in comfortable familiarity. Their children's voices echoed from inside. Their cattle grazed peacefully in moonlit pastures. Everything they had built together, everything they had become, stood as testament to a simple truth: that love, true love, is not found but chosen. It is built day by day through small acts of kindness, through keeping promises, through showing up and staying even when things are hard. Garrett Xavier had volunteered to be a father to a child that was not his by blood. In doing so, he had become father to 5 children who adored him, husband to a woman who loved him more with each passing year, and builder of a legacy that would last for generations. Amelia Xavier had arrived in Ruby City pregnant, ashamed, and alone. She had left behind everything she knew and stepped into an uncertain future with nothing but courage and hope. And she had found love. Real, lasting, transformative love that had turned her greatest shame into her greatest blessing. As the moon rose higher over the Idaho territory, painting everything in silver light, Amelia and Garrett remained on their porch, held close in each other's arms. Inside their home, their children prepared for bed, secure in the knowledge that they were loved and protected. The ranch they had built together rested peacefully under the stars. This was the life they had chosen and built together. This was the family that had grown from a single act of kindness. This was the love story that had started with 5 simple words. That baby needs a father. And in the quiet of that summer night, with 15 years of memories behind them and a lifetime of hope ahead, both Amelia and Garrett knew that their story was exactly as it should be. Not perfect, but real. Not easy, but worth it. Not the story either of them had expected, but better than anything they could have imagined. Their children would grow up secure in love. They would marry and have children of their own, filling the Xavier home with new generations. Gabriel would take over the ranch eventually, running it with the same principles his father had taught him. Anna would use her education to improve their community, becoming a teacher and advocate. The twins would expand westward, starting their own ranches but always remaining close to home. Margaret would surprise everyone by becoming a doctor, determined to help others the way her family had been helped. And through it all, through every triumph and challenge, Garrett and Amelia would remain the foundation. Their love, freely chosen and carefully tended, would be the example their children and grandchildren would follow. The story of how they met, how a cowboy volunteered to be a father, how love grew from kindness, would be told and retold, becoming family legend. But for now, on this perfect summer night in 1891, all that mattered was this moment. Husband and wife, sitting together in the home they had built, surrounded by the family they had created, blessed beyond measure by the love they had chosen. Happy. Garrett asked softly, though he already knew the answer. Happier than words can say, Amelia replied, squeezing his hand. Happier than I knew was possible. Me too, Garrett said. Every single day, me too. And as they sat together under the stars, their joined hands resting between them, Amelia and Garrett Xavier knew that they had found what everyone searches for. A love worth keeping, a life worth living, and a family worth everything. The scared young woman and the kind cowboy who had met by chance 15 years ago had built something extraordinary together. They had created a legacy of love that would endure long after they were gone, a testament to the transformative power of kindness, courage, and choosing to love even when it would have been easier not to. Their story, which had begun with shame and fear and uncertainty, had become something beautiful. And it would continue, generation after generation, a reminder that sometimes the worst moments of our lives are simply the doorway to our best ones. That sometimes a chance meeting can change everything. That sometimes when someone says, I volunteer, they are offering not just help but hope, not just assistance but love, not just a solution but a whole new life. This was their happily ever after. Not an ending but a continuation. Not perfect, but perfectly theirs. And as the night deepened and the stars wheeled overhead, Amelia and Garrett Xavier sat together in complete contentment, grateful for every moment that had led them here, and eager for every moment still to come. Their love story, born from a cowboy's simple offer and a desperate woman's acceptance, would be the foundation upon which generations would build their own stories of love and hope and family. And that, more than the ranch or the cattle or any material wealth, was the true legacy of Garrett and Amelia Xavier. Proof that love, real love, can redeem any past and build any future. The end.